people what you can do at home and what you can do in other places. So part of that is habitat. So like Julian said, habitat for little birds, insects, frogs, all sorts of things, lizards, bees. And we're going to go through all those little critters over the next 10 weeks. So in order, just to put the context out there, so in order to kind of, over the 10 weeks, there's a design focus. So you guys will go away with a good understanding of how to design a space to create habitat. There's a skills focus, so you will actually, people who are here, we get to practice how to set up a garden for habitat, mostly using native plants. For those of you on Zoom, you know, maybe you can find a space of your own to do all these things as well, so you can practice somewhere else. And the other stream running through is plant knowledge. So we're going to drum into your heads a whole range of native plants that you can use to create habitat for animals at home. So native plants that grow and are suitable to the Randwick Council area. So I think we've got about 45 plants that you get to become familiar with over the next 10 weeks. So that's kind of fun. So over the next, you know, in 10 weeks time, you'll be able to show off all your knowledge around those plants behind us. So we start off today with the beginning of the design process. So a thing called site analysis. So it's all about understanding what your site is about right now, really getting to know it, knowing what influences it, what its characteristics are, because you need to, you know, part of, well, one of the most important things about design is observation. So observing what's going on, and then we can start to see what the opportunities and constraints are. Next week, we'll be looking into ecosystems and food webs. So what is it that we're trying to create? What's an ecosystem? What are the things that we're trying to do to maximize habitat? Week 3 is very exciting. We're looking at native bees. I think there's one buzzing around me right now. So Elke will come and tell you about bees. We've got some native beehives here, and there are other types of bees as well that are native to Australia. We'll look at how to create habitat for them. Week 4, we've got Renee coming to talk about native birds. Really fascinating stuff. She knows so much about birds, and it's really interesting to get to know your birds. Week 5, we'll be looking at habitat for frogs and lizards. We've got a little frog pond here and a lizard lounge behind me. So we'll be looking at how do we create homes for those guys. And then week 6, we'll be moving into some of the implementation and the actual doing. So we'll be looking at how do you prepare your soil, how do you prepare a garden for planting out natives. Week 7, we're going into the design process a bit more. So what's the flow that you follow to create a garden? Week 8, nursery and propagation. So Julian, is that at the nursery?
Yes.
Yes, so we'll be going to the nursery. Council's got an awesome nursery down near the uni, and learn how to propagate native plants. So you can get plants for free, which is really cool. Week 9, we'll be planting out. So we'll be laying out a whole range of plants that we get from the nursery. By that stage, we'll have some really interesting design ideas for here and hopefully for you guys in your space. And we'll show you how to set it out and how to plant it out to create a habitat garden. And then week 10, we'll be exploring a little bit how then do you look after it and keep it healthy and keep it habitat friendly. So, you know, so by the end of that, you should know everything you need to know about creating a habitat garden using native plants. Does that sound all right? Yeah. Anything else you want in there? Just shout out and we'll see what we can do. Can you guys hear me on Zoom? Hopefully. We're a bit late to ask that. Yep. All right. Okay. So the process of reading the landscape and understanding your particular site. I don't know. Where would you start? I'll ask you guys. What could you do?
Have a look.
Have a look. There you go. Have a look. Fairly obvious. So yeah, observation. It's all about observation. We might. I was going to go walk at some stage. I don't know if now is the right time, but all right. So it's really about getting a good understanding of what's happening here. Actually, we'll start somewhere else, and maybe Julian can tee us up with Google Earth and looking at the broader region. So part of your design process in where you are in the context of the big. So there's a principle in permaculture. So I use a lot of permaculture principles and framework when designing. There's a principle in permaculture which talks about designing from patterns to details. Thinking about your little piece of the earth, it's always worth looking at it in the context of where does it sit in the broader landscape context. You can do that on a computer, Google Earth. It's actually a real way of kind of placing your space in the bigger context. If you're thinking about habitat and birds and animals and things, what could be useful about putting your piece of land in the bigger picture context? How could that help with your design or inform your design?
Check out the local native areas.
Yeah. Yep. So are there any areas nearby that are providing habitat already, and can you connect with those to make them even better? Probably the main one. Or actually there's others. What? Yeah, so is there water close by? Could be the ocean. If the ocean is close by, that will have an impact on your design in a number of ways. So
during building, I discovered products of a sand dune that are better underneath the sandstone.
Yeah, okay. So that's part of your analysis as well, is looking at what the soil is and what the land is that you're on. So the broad landscape, so what's around you? What are the opportunities? What are the constraints? How is the local environment impacting your site? We're lucky here in that we're right next to several acres of what's called Eastern Suburbs Banksia scrub. So it's a remnant bushland that was here, over 200 years ago. It was all up and down the coast. There's not much of it left anymore. This is a little fragment of it. So we're able to see that and work with that. So there's already fantastic habitat right next door. So it's easy for us to create habitat because we've got the animals there. We just need to extend that. There's other pockets of habitat all around the eastern suburbs that you could connect into. And part of increasing habitat on a broad scale is creating what we call habitat corridors, so avenues for that animals can move from one place to another, and that's something that you guys can really be a part of. So the broad landscape, where
is Google Maps enough?
Yeah, okay. Google Earth is not working for us, but that's all right. Everyone knows what Google Earth is. So I'd recommend starting on looking at Sydney and kind of zooming in a little bit at a time and just trying to see if you can identify opportunities, existing habitat around your place, so you can place yourself in that context.
That's what I say. Satellite view on maps.
Google
yeah, maybe. Yeah, but if that's working, whatever shows, if we've got something that can show.
The biggest problem will be them being able to
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's okay. I think you get the idea. So start broad and then work your way in. Then, yeah, that's probably all right, Julian. I think we might move on to this one. Yeah.
I can do maps.
Yeah. Okay. So once you've got your big picture view and you're thinking, here there's a wetland over there. There's a big sort of, we're in the middle of a prairie over here almost, plain around us. There's some houses over there. So just place yourself in that broader landscape. And then we can move into more of the detail. So maybe we can look at the table. So Then you want to get yourself, sometimes with Google Earth, you can zoom in and you get enough detail for your space. You can actually see it's really quite clear. Yeah, that's right. See who's got their clothes out on the clothesline and all that sort of stuff. So, yeah, and sometimes you can use that as your base plan to work off from your design. Sometimes you can't. Whoops, you can't get quite enough detail. So you want to get yourself some sort of a base plan. So it could be, sorry, you know, it could be as simple as a piece of paper and you just sketch it as best you can. You could, if you could get a survey, if you've got a survey of your property, that's fantastic. If you get whatever you can that shows as much detail as possible of your particular site, and if you can do it to scale, that's great. But yeah, just some sort of base plan to work off, because we're going to be using this this base plan to build layers of complexity to build the design over time. If that makes sense, but hopefully it'll become more clear as we go. So we're lucky in that we've got the exact base plan of where we are now because we drew it. So that makes it easy. This would be 5 years old, this particular spot. Needs a lot of work, so it's fabulous. It's a great opportunity to learn. Yeah, so this is our base plan. Right now we're sitting here. And actually, do you guys want to come around? You can grab one of those. All right, so yeah, you can grab. Yep, we've got one for everyone. And what we're going to do. So the first stage of, well, that observation it's a really useful exercise to actually start recording your observations on your base plan. So this is the moment normally that we would spend 5 or 10 minutes just walking around kind of aimlessly and observing and looking and understanding, and just seeing the space. So if you're at home and you at some stage between now and next week, do the exercise of just switching off your phones and your Zoom, not now, and don't talk to anyone. Just spend 5 or 10 minutes in the space that you want to turn into a habitat zone, and just use your senses and feel, feel what you feel through your skin, listen to things, see things, touch things, and just get a real feel. Walk through your space and get a really good feel for it. And then after 5 or 10 minutes of that, come back and now one thing I've noticed here is there's a wind coming from the northeast, which we can plot. So then once you've done a little bit of observation, and 5 or 10 minutes is a good start, you might want to do that every day for 12 months before you start designing. You probably don't want to do that, but that is the best thing to do, because your site will change over the seasons. In summer, it's going to be totally different to winter. One day there might be a wind coming from a certain direction, and over 12 months, you get a feel for the different trends and the different characteristics of your site.
So if it takes 12 and it really makes sense, would you recommend to capture your observation in some way, like a log or something?
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. It's a really good idea. If you've got a little notebook, just write down what you notice. If you've got a plan like this, you can just start writing on here. That's what we do now. So what do we? So we're in winter. It's the end of July. What do you? The guys who are here, what do you notice?
Wattles flowering.
The wattles flowering. So on your plan, find a pen. Everything that you notice. So there's a wattle here somewhere. You could even say flowering wattle.
So it's just a request. If you're speaking, can you speak really loud so that the people on Zoom can hear?
Do it at the same time every day.
Not necessarily. So
Would you have to do it at the same time every day, each day?
no, it's good to do it at different times. So you want to get a feel for where what it's like in the morning, what it's like in the afternoon, what it's like at night time, even in the middle of the day. So the more you observe at different times of the day, the better your outcome will be, because this observation, it really informs, you start to realize where the opportunities are, where are the sunny bits, where are the cool bits, the windy bits, and then you can respond with your design. Yes. So Nikki's asking about the sun.
Not really.
Well, there are the trees that go. Yeah, the trees are
cold right here. North side of the path is
Yep. So they're exactly the observations. So it's quite exposed and sunny on this site. So let's think about that. So one of the things you would put on your site analysis is the sun patterns. Where does the sun move? Probably the first thing you want to have on your site analysis is where north is. So
I was going to say that.
So where's north? Yeah, so north is pretty much straight up the page. So that's north.
I can hear you, but
Okay.
I can't really hear others on this.
Yeah, okay. So north is straight up the page. Why is that important? And Zoomers, feel free to shout out as well if you've got some ideas.
It'll help you figure out where the sun's going to be.
Yes,
knowing
that's
where
exactly
north
right.
is.
Yep. So in winter, the sun is lower in the sky, so it rises kind of over there, which is just north of east. And where does it set?
west.
Dead west.
Well, north of west.
North of west, right? So the sun. So this is your winter sun. It rises there, and it sets there, and it's low in the sky. So what does that mean in terms of shadows?
They go a long way.
Yeah, long shadows. So your trees will cast longer shadows. What about summer? If we were here in the middle of summer, where does the sun rise?
Closer to east.
Closer.
Yeah, it's actually a little bit south of east. So it's kind of pretty much over Julian's shoulder, and it sets kind of south of west.
I really know something.
So this is where the summer sun, and what about its trajectory through the sky?
Yeah, much higher.
It's really high, isn't it? So in summer, your shadows are shorter, well, in the middle of the day anyway. So if you've got a tree, hopefully you guys can see, if you've got a tree there in winter, this area here might be in shade, whereas in summer, it might just be, so your shade patterns change in the hot areas and the cold areas, and that informs what does that tell you when you're moving towards thinking about a design?
Well, if you plant in the summer,
Yes.
then you might be in shade in winter.
Yeah.
So you've got to have plants in those transitional zones. You've got to have plants that can manage both.
Yep. So it really informs which plants you put where, I guess, and it also informs where you put other things as well. So that's really important. The sun, the shade. So you might notice right now, right here, it's quite warm. So we could put a note on our plan. Warm winter spot, or something like that. Whatever works for you, whatever has meaning to you, because we're talking about habitat for humans as well. It's sometimes it's our home as well, so we want to find nice places for us too. All right, so that's the sun. What else might we plot on our site analysis?
Trees.
Yeah, trees, existing vegetation, existing plants. Yeah, wind. So wind, yeah, it's very. So wind, why? Who cares about wind? What's that going to do? What does that matter? Potentially, yeah. So maybe with. Yeah, so the wind can have a really. Kerry said it
damages plants as well.
Yeah, potentially damages plants. So you might find on your site that you get, if you're near the coast, you probably find you've got really strong winds coming off the sea. So you would note that on your plan. Who knows where? Well, what do we notice today on this site with the wind or the breeze?
Northeaster.
It's a nor'easter, yeah. So so you might put on your plan something like that. So is it warm, cold, hot, chilly? Yeah, there you go. So cool, I would say cool breezes from the northeast. And if you're here on a day, one of those beautiful days that you're here and it's blowing a gale and it's freezing cold, where's that coming from? Yeah, south, right? So on this site and a lot of sites in Sydney, you get these strong, cold winter winds.
But this site here is protected by a big bank of trees.
That's right. So that's a really good observation. So on this site, we're lucky. We've got this habitat zone already here, which creates a windbreak for us. So it's that's definitely worth noting.
And to the east, there's a hill as well.
There's a hill to the east, which yeah. So so really, yeah. So all of those observations are really useful, and it's getting a feel for your site and what the microclimates are like and what it's like. If we were here on those stinking hot 40-degree midsummer days and there's bushfires and we're melting, where would the wind be coming from typically on those days?
Northwest.
Yeah. So northwest. So we may have an observation that we have hot summer winds. Okay, so you notice those sorts of things. So that's the climatic factors that are influencing the site from the outside, and they go on our site analysis. And then you zoom in even more and get to the real nitty gritty and even more detail about what you notice. So what are some of the real detailed kind of bits that we might want to be looking at? Yeah, so we've got existing things. So we've got frog pond. Well, we'll call it a pond.
And how much water is in it at that particular time? Because certain times of the year it dries out. She's trying her best.
Yeah, so what about the frog pond? We do have a frog pond here. What about it? It's often half full at best.
And it's often dry.
It's often dry. Okay,
Does
so
it flow?
no, so it doesn't flow. So we've got a frog pond. We got some rocks here. You'd plot all your trees and your plants, existing vegetation.
What are the grasses?
Lomandras. So we got lots of lomandras. So you just start populating the things that you notice. You put them on this map.
Lots of
Butterflies. So you write down the things, the animals that you notice. So you notice butterflies. What do you notice about the vegetation? Is it healthy? Is it unhealthy? Is it, so it's just things that you notice.
Generally healthy.
Generally healthy. Healthy enough. They'll be healthier over the next 10 weeks. So another thing that what do plants grow in? Soil. There you go. So look at your soil, have a dig, and just note on your plan what the soil is like. Does anyone know what the soil here might be like?
Sandy.
Yeah. It's basically sand. It's literally sand. So and most of the eastern suburbs is probably pretty much sand, but dig around in a few different spots. Have a look at your soil. Other things you'd look for, is there any mulch on the surface? Is there not? Do you notice any worms? Do you notice any fungi? So do a really good exploration of your soil and write that down on your site analysis.
There are wrens. I just saw a wren over there.
Yeah. So there we go. So
And noisy miners are around.
Yep. So write down all the animals you notice and where they are and what they're doing. Humans as well. You might want to observe and note what human impact there is. So here we've already got paths. So you might write your movement patterns through the garden.
Playground.
There's a playground over there. So you might, if you live near a road, so maybe there's a noise. You could say it's noisy. noise coming from here, etc., etc. You just keep building on it. One thing we've noticed here is we got a lot of people, these are seats, and people in the afternoon and maybe on weekends, they congregate here with their dogs. So there's a lot of impact from the surrounding grassy area into our habitat garden. So that's something we might need to consider as we go down the track. So just plot everything. So just let me check my notes to make sure we've got everything. Is there anything else that anyone can think of that you might put on your site analysis?
Fencing.
Yeah, fencing. Taps is a really good one. You've got taps here.
And things like gutters, stormwater drains.
Fence here. Oi.
Electricity.
Yeah, all your services, your gutters, stormwater. So the way, water tanks, the way that water moves through the garden. If there's any slopes, so if you've got a sloping site, write that down. Anyone on Zoom got anything else you'd like to add?
Yes, Ali would.
Yep. Go for it, Ali. Or
Hi. Yes, I was just having a look at what's already growing really well in the area, either immediately in that area or around the neighbourhood. So see what other plants are already thriving and what's not there.
Yep.
Just give an idea of what you might end up planting there. And then I was going to say water sources. So is there a municipal source nearby that you can tap into? Will you be allowed to tap into, or do you need to rely on standalone rainwater capture and water tanks? And then the other one is around what else is going on in this area in the near future or in the medium term future. Is there going to be development and therefore an increase in humans and foot traffic, or pollution, or just consideration to what's going to be happening in the area coming up?
Yeah, fantastic. Yep, great. Because all of those things will influence what you do. Yep. Okay. All right. So how are we going? Okay. So is there any questions about that part of the design process? It's all pretty straightforward, but it's really, really important. The temptation is to just jump straight into designing and putting things on paper, but this observation is such a key to a really good outcome. And then plotting your observations and your knowledge and everything onto a plan, it's actually a really useful resource that you can call back on when you're further down the design process to help you make decisions about what you want to do. The other thing actually I would throw in there is having a think about your resources. So the resources that are available to you and what you want them to be like in the future. So this is kind of your personal, it ties into what does it tie into? I'm not sure what I'm trying to say here. So spend a bit of time thinking about what you've got and what you want it to be like.
You mean uses going forward?
Yeah, moving forward. So maybe we'll talk about this more next week. I think we'll touch on that a bit more. But this is early on. It's where you think about what you have. What are your resources? What land have you got? What's around that can help you develop this garden, and then what you want the garden to be like. And yeah, we'll talk about that more next week. So if you have a space to use, I'd recommend over the next week, do some observation, draw yourself a base plan or a mud map, or get some sort of survey and start populating your own site analysis and start doing your own observations, because it'll be really useful for you, over the course of the next 10 weeks. If you wanted to work through a design, we can help facilitate that. And the first step is this process of the site analysis. Okay, so we're going to spend a little bit of time now looking at plants. So yeah, so we might we'll just pop you on screen share. Stand up. Old knees. Yeah.
So we'll have to spin this around. Yeah. So we'll just get it set up. Chat and all.
Yeah. Okay. So we're
Oh, here we go.
probably what we can do. We'll print out a list of all the plants that we're going to do through the course, and we can distribute that to the Zoomers and to the people who are here as well. So this week we're doing 3 plants.
Can somebody let me know on Zoom when you can see that on the screen share?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can
Thank
see
you.
it.
Okay. All right.
There we go. So
Okay.
yeah, it's going to be very hard to see that.
So we might go.
What I'll do is I'll scoot around.
All right. Do you want to? Can we go to native violets? Yeah. Should,
Native violets. So you can.
can we do this and walk at the same time? Because might as well look at them.
Yeah.
I think I can,
Somebody can.
because this is on screen share.
Oh, and we'll take this off. Yeah. So we won't use the PowerPoint.
It'd be good if, I think it'd be good if we could.
Okay.
I'll carry this.
Thank you. Yeah, you carry that so you're talking to
Yeah.
that.
Okay. Sorry guys, we're just
There we go.
we've
Okay.
just decided that we're going to get mobile because we've got some examples of some of these plants, or all of these plants in the garden.
So they won't be able to see that if I'm screen sharing.
No, but when we get over there, we'll unscreen share. It's Julian, this is a test. Okay. So the first, we're going to look more next week at the structure of the garden that you can create in terms of the different layers of plants. We'll explore that more next week. But just to give you a bit of a taster, when you're creating habitat, you want a lot of diversity, and we're going to look at ground covers. We're going to look at grasses, shrubs and trees and climbers, amongst other things. So today we're looking at 3 plants. We're looking at 1 ground cover, 1 shrub and 1 tree. So the first plant, I think it's up on the screen, native violet. So you may recognize this one. It's a pretty common plant. We did have some growing in the garden last year. No. Yeah.
Demonstration.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So they've all disappeared. So native violets don't like dry. Sorry, guys. All right. So on your screen, we got some native violets. What do you want to know about? I mean, you can read. I guess you could just read it. Yeah. So we did. So native violet. Has anyone grown native violets before on Zoom?
No, I seem to have lost the screen share. I can just see black. Is it still there for everyone else?
Yes,
I've still got it.
I can see it.
Oh, I seem to have lost it.
I've never grown them,
Hi,
but
Amanda
looking at this
here.
picture, I think I've seen them.
Yeah. So they're pretty common.
Yeah, I tried to grow them once in a little kind of shady area, but they didn't last very long.
Yeah. So they're
I grew one that had kind of leaves like that and purple flowers.
Yeah. So they're really common. They do like they're a little ground cover, and they just spread. They're really pretty. They're deep green, kind of almost circular leaf, and you can see the picture of the flower on your screen. The flower is actually edible, so you can put it in salads. It looks really nice.
The purple one.
Yeah, I don't know if it tastes any good, but it looks good, and it won't hurt you. So, but they, like you've kind of mentioned, they like a shady, damp spot. So if you've got a garden and you've noticed in your site analysis that you've got a dark south side of a building, and it gets plenty of moisture, this should go pretty well. They're a little bit fussy, and they do just disappear if they don't have the right conditions. But if you've got a shady, damp spot, they are really good. So at the centre here, we've got a building and we've got some shady, damp spots. But obviously, I'm guessing last summer just wiped them out because it was too hot and dry. But we'll put some more of those in because they're really good. On your screen, I can't see it because it's too small for my eyes, but there should be some symbols on just above the picture. Can you guys see that?
Insects.
Yeah, so that indicates what sort of things they provide habitat for. And I think
Can we tune into the images on our phones?
I think does it say butterflies and lizards and butterflies? There you go. So if you have a really healthy batch of native violets, why do you think they'd be good lizard habitat? Yeah. Yeah, the lizards can hide in there, in ground covers. They're good for lizards. So that's native violets. You can tell them, you can pick them by the flower, you can pick them by the way they grow, and I don't think you can see the leaves in that picture, but do your research and get to know the leaves as well. So yeah, they do grow all year round. They come and go. So in spring, they should, hopefully these ones will come back in spring. But so the idea of showing you these plants and describing where they grow and how they grow is just to give you guys lots of plants in your toolkit, so you can you'll have a plant for every occasion.
Is this it?
No, it's a ground cover. So we'll
Down here.
all right, so that's native violets. Now the shrub that I wanted to show you is called Coria alba. So I'm going to move the group here over to the Coria albas. Does anyone here know what a Coria alba looks like?
Just before you go,
Yes.
what's the yellow flowering one there?
Oh, I'll have this for another time. I just have to focus. Yeah, I'll come back. So we're moving over now to Coria alba.
Reflexes are lovely too. They're green, red and...
Yeah, yep. So we've got, Coria alba is one of my favorite plants. Native plants. They grow really well, really well in this this sort of environment.
So is that a New South Wales native?
I think so. I think it's native to this area.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So have a look at on the screen share, and actually it'd be great if we could show this one. So this is a shrub. So we got the native violets are the ground cover layer. These guys are the shrub layer. They grow to about 2 meters high at maximum. It's more like 1.5 meters by about 2 meters wide. And we're good. So this is them here. So this is one. There's another one. Yeah, they're all through here. They're called Coria alba. So Coria is the genus. Alba is the species. And alba means, I think, white. So these ones have a white flower. They also have a bit of a flower.
Yeah, that's the flower.
Yeah, perfect.
Oh,
Okay, so if you want to have success with a shrub, try Coria alba because they're really quite easy to grow, and these don't get a lot of love. And look at them; they just look fantastic. You can pick. I'll show you actually, you guys who are here, just feel free to pick a piece off, because part of learning and getting to know your plants is to getting up close and personal with them. So you can notice, you can really tell the Coria alba by its leaf. So one side of its leaf is fairly green, sort of greyish green, but the other side is whitish. Yeah, so it's quite a distinctive leaf. Yeah, yeah. So it's a little bit hairy. It's a little bit furry. So that's another. Apparently, you can make tea out of it. I haven't. And please do your research before you do that. I don't want to hurt anyone, but I've heard that you can make tea out of it. And this one, so this one's Coria alba, and it's got a really beautiful kind of brown, I don't know how you describe that, but it's a really, really nice plant.
So do they need full sun?
They will grow in some shade. Obviously, they go really well in full sun. These ones, when the drought was on in summer, they looked really stressed. Right? I mean, everything looked really stressed, even the humans. But the plants here, you could have sworn they were going to die, but look how they've come back. So.
And Amanda's got a question. She says, when is it best to plant them?
Oh, that's a really good question. Look, I would say any time except maybe the middle of summer, possibly is what I'd say. But you can plant in the middle of summer, but you need to be there to give them more water. So probably the best time would be any time from autumn, well, spring, autumn, winter, spring, and avoid summer if you can. I don't know, Jan, do you have any thoughts on that?
Not on when to plant them, but on something else.
Okay.
Regarding the leaves, but you're probably going to talk about it.
Yeah. So I tend to think with planting, work that around your time frame, because you're there. If you're there to look after them, then you pretty much can plant them at any time. And we'll be showing you how to prepare your soil and your ground so that you have the best results anyway. So. But if you've got a choice when it's cooler, is probably better. All right, so that one's called Coria alba. Hopefully we'll have time to be really repetitive and really boring with these plants, because that's how you learn. So next week we'll be revisiting Coria alba native violets, and I should give you the botanical name as well, which is
Viola hederacea.
Yeah, Viola hederacea, or yeah. Okay. Yep. All right. So there's your first two. We've got one more, which is Banksia serrata. Old man Banksia. So we've got one up in that direction. So we'll head up there. And
while we're walking over, I'll screen share for you guys.
Yeah, it's up that way. Actually, I'll see if you guys probably know where it is, see if you can find it. Yes.
Where on the site are these corias found? Just to have a mental picture of where to see them later on.
Yeah, okay. So if you know the site, obviously you do. So we've got the classroom, the building that we do the workshops in, and they're on the south side of the building. We've got a thing called a rain garden, which we'll look at it at some stage, which is how we manage our stormwater, and they're at the end of the over there behind the classroom. Thanks. Yeah.
Over there behind the classroom in the distance. Cool.
Yeah. And we've got quite a few of them around the place, so you should be able to find them. There's some more there too. There's some more corias. So behind that guy. All right. So our next plant, which is a tree. So we've got the ground cover, a shrub, and this is a tree. Banksia serrata, it's called. And for the guys who are here, I'm going to pick a leaf. Now most native plants actually don't mind. They respond quite well to pruning, just tip pruning, light pruning. So I'm not hurting this plant at all by doing this. So I'll just be back in a sec. If you guys want to click on those and pass it on. All right, so Banksia serrata is this fellow. Grows into a tree. I don't know what it says on the screen, but it's about 6 to 8 meters tall. Now, if you look at the leaf, you might be able to see where it gets its name from. So serrata, it's serrated. It's quite sharp. It's like a bread knife. So that's a really easy one to remember, the botanical name, Banksia serrata. It's got that serrated leaf edge. Okay. Banksias are a classic Australian native plant. They're pretty recognisable as well by the flower, which this one doesn't have. But the classic, big orange Banksia flower.
Do they always grow so sort of tall and thin?
Not always.
No.
Yeah. So the question was, do they always grow as tall and thin as this one? And no. It probably, the way it grows depends on what's around it. There's no trees or anything kind of shading it. So maybe it's just goes. I don't know. It hasn't had a bushfire through it, so that hasn't sort of changed it. But yeah, they can be, quite gnarly and. So that's Banksia serrata, one of our taller plants. Oh, actually, this is Coria alba as well, right next to it. So there you go. So you can see how they kind of work together. So really leathery, tough leaves. Why? Yeah, it's a response to the climate. So you'll find a lot of, we noticed with the Coria alba that the leaves are, they're thick and furry and grey. These are thick and spiky. So it's a response to the conditions that they grow in, and we'll explore that more over the time. But
fairly inedible too, wouldn't they?
Yeah,
Animals even.
Yeah, totally. I can't imagine too many kangaroos kind of wanting to nibble on this. It's not very pleasant. Who knows? Maybe they do. Yeah, so that's Banksia serrata. I'm guessing it's good for birds. I don't have the sheet here with me because of the flowers. Lots of nectar on possums. Good for humans. Yeah. Yeah, the flowers. Yeah, you can eat the nectar. Yeah. Yeah, butterflies. Even there's some little mammals that will feed on the nectar in the Banksia. So yeah, so really useful and very attractive. Great, tough feature sort of plant. Used a lot in street tree planting and all around the place. So it's one of many Banksias that you can use in your design.
Is it long lived?
I think so. Yeah, I think they're fairly. The question was, is it long lived? I'd say yes, because I've seen Banksias with trunks like that, and they look like they've been there forever. So I guess they have. All right, so there's your first three. We'll go through them again, just because it's how it sticks in your brain. What's the ground cover? The botanical name? Viola heteracea, native violets. This guy?
Coria alba.
Thank you, Coria alba. Excellent. White Coria shrub, and the last one, Banksia serrata, serrated old man Banksia. That's the one. So we'll have a quiz next week. No, we won't. Just kidding. But yeah, we'll keep repeating. And next week, I think we've got on the list to do another, even maybe 5 or 6 plants next week. So, so watch this space.
There's a question from Kit. Guys, on Zoom, please just yell out the question.
Yeah, feel free to shout out.
The question is, what is it habitat for?
Which one?
Coria.
Coria alba? Good question. We didn't mention that.
Little bird.
Insects, butterfly symbol.
Yeah, so it's got the butterfly symbol. So butterflies.
It'd be good for blue wren.
Yeah, so when we do birds in a couple of weeks, I think week 4 or 5, Renee will talk about why this is good habitat for birds, but I don't want to give it away. But yeah, birds. So little birds like hiding places. Okay, they need to hide from the big birds. So dense shrubs, fantastic habitat for little birds. Elke will talk about the flowers and how they can be good habitat for certain types of bees as well. So the flowers good for bees, the density good for birds, and I'm guessing the flowers good for butterflies as well. So yeah. All right, so we've got 5 minutes. I've left my notes back at the table, but I'll see if I can remember. Any questions?
So that likes full sun as well.
Yeah, full sun,
Full sun.
pretty much. Yeah, most of these will. Did you have a question on
Yeah,
Zoom?
it's
Yep.
Kit.
Hi.
Hi, thanks, Steve. In terms of plucking the leaves, is it possible to propagate natives easily with a little cutting like that?
Yeah, it is definitely possible. It's a bit harder than propagating like herbs and things, but yeah, you can do it. And when we go to the nursery in weeks 7 or 8, so, yeah, we're going to teach you guys how to propagate native plants.
Okay.
So yeah, you definitely can. Yeah, and it's really cool. We did it last time, and yeah. So yes, the answer.
All right.
All right. Okay, so we'll just need to wrap up now for you guys on the Zoom. Did you want to? It's really helpful for everyone at this point of the proceedings if you wanted to just share.
So we'll start.
Yeah, we'll start with you guys, the Zoomers. Just share one thing that you remember from this session.
Starting
So
with,
you're welcome to chat it or shout out.
Get them to yell out. What
Yeah,
about
or yell out.
Ali?
Ali.
We'll do it in alphabetical order.
Okay, so get ready.
Okay, there we go. Just to listen and observe and use all of the current senses and perhaps what's coming in the future when analysing the site of a new habitat. Yep,
thank you.
Amanda.
Yeah, I guess the native violet, that it can be a ground cover instead of grass, which I think will be great if I can do that on one side of my garden.
Yeah, cool. Now, Atta. Sorry, we're just moving so the guys here can hear you.
Oh, sorry, I don't have any question at the moment. Thank you so much.
Okay.
David,
just one thing you remember?
My turn?
Yeah, go for it.
Oh.
Yes.
If you can, I like learning about the Coria alba because I hadn't heard of that plant before. And it's got this green white leaves on one side, whitish on the other, and they're a little bit furry. So I'm going to try and see if I can find it anywhere and ID it. So
yeah. Great.
Jacqueline?
Anything you remember?
Yeah, that the winter sun moves from northeast to northwest. I didn't realise it tightened quite so much in the sky. I knew it moved, but I didn't realise it's set northwest. And that it's the southeast to southwest.
Yep, cool.
Jeane.
Thank you. Jeane? Jeane. Hi, Jeane. Cassie.
Maybe Jeane doesn't have a microphone. That's okay. I was similar to. I didn't realize that the sun changed so drastically as well. Like you can kind of feel it in temperatures, and like I've started to try and map out a laundry area in my apartment building actually, and I planted all this stuff because I thought like, oh, it gets so much sun out there, it'll be great, and then it turned into winter, and the shadows really affected it more than I thought.
Okay.
So it was just kind of confirming that observation of just being like, oh, it's because the trajectory changes. It's not just all shadows, and having beautiful full sun in summer isn't the same in winter.
Yeah, and hopefully your plants will hang in there until it comes back again.
Yeah, there's some nasturtiums absolutely taking over, so I'm just letting them have the run for now.
Great, thank you. Kim.
Hey guys, I guess the three plants, the native violet, the white Corea, and the Banksia serrata. I still have no idea about names plants or all that, so it's pretty good to know, to get knowledge on that.
Great, thanks Kim. Kit?
The mud, developing the mud map together and all the many items that were on it.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Kit. Natalia. Natalia.
You're on mute, Natalia.
Yeah, okay, sorry
Yeah.
about that. I really loved the suggestion to use Google Earth. I thought that was brilliant because I'd never considered it. And also, I really like discussing the different types of animals that are already in that sort of garden habitat, because I think it's really important to not make it just useful for us, but for them as well. And I don't think we talked about like nocturnal animals, but bats and possums, I'd love to sort of find out a little bit more about, and maybe how to make boxes for them as well.
Yeah, okay. We'll have to put a note for that because we're not planning on covering it, but we might be able to point you in the right direction for sure.
Okay, thank
Cool.
you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Is there anybody we've missed, including Jeane?
Yeah, my apologies. I'm quite interested in making connections from my balcony to the front verge of my apartment building. So interested in observation and plants that will assist with those connections.
Fabulous. That's everybody.
Yeah. So for all the Zoomers, thank you very much for attending. We hope to see you next week. Please register. It's going to be on sector analysis.
No, next week we're looking at what are ecosystems. What are they? What are they made up of? How can we replicate them? All about putting, what are we trying to achieve here? And yeah, so it's a real grounding and understanding of what it is that we're trying to create. So really good one next week.
Please register, tell your friends, and next week we'll have a piece of foam over the microphone to stop the wind noise. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Have a great week.
Thanks.